welcome to the Fairly Relatable Podcast.
It's like therapy with your best friends, minus the copay.
We're back. Can we talk about what I want to talk about?
It's necessary.
Energy vampires.
Okay, define it.
Okay, so my understanding of an energy vampire is it's a person that you encounter. You might know them well, you might not know them at all. It could be a stranger at Starbucks, which is my trauma that we can unpack in a minute.
Your most recent trauma.
My most
not the only
most
time you've
recent trauma.
experienced it.
That's right. Someone who typically you feel like you're being talked at. You don't feel seen. You don't feel heard. You don't even have a speaking part. It's just someone that talks at you, and the way that you kind of get locked into it. I know people listening know what I'm talking about. You get locked into it. You almost feel like I feel almost a sense of violation. Like I feel violated when this happens.
Because we'll talk about what's happening to you.
Literally it literally drains the emotion out. Like it drains you. It takes away. Like I feel like it takes something from my soul, which is something my husband always says, and it bugs me. But I do relate on this level.
Okay, so just to clarify, if a person's talking about themselves, but you're like invested in the conversation and engaged in the conversation and there's a back and forth, that is not
an energy vampire.
That is not an energy vampire.
No.
An energy vampire, by your
Touch
explanation.
that mic.
Sorry if I made a loud noise. An energy vampire is like, they weren't invited. They weren't invited into your space, yet they're taking up all your space and you're trying to leave.
Right.
But energy vampires don't read social cues, so they continue on.
Dude, I just had a huge revelation. Vampires, I heard, not that they're like real, but like whatever. They can only come in if you invite them in. So this is part of it. We are allowing it to happen.
To be clear, I have a much more off-putting,
I wouldn't say off-putting.
bubble energy. I've encountered
some sign on my head that says like, come talk to me about something that you don't care about.
You do have a very approachable vibe where I have chronic resting bitch face. I have my whole. No.
I've told you, I've had 2 different occasions, men at the grocery store where they walk by and go, you should smile more. Or like, it's not that bad.
Okay, but
like, excuse me, I'm like picking out fruit. Why are you talking to me?
But explain this to me.
What?
I walk around, listen, in high school, people would say, wait,
you were intimidating.
I was so insecure. So the fact that I could have been intimidating is really interesting to me because I would say high school is my most insecure time of life. I wouldn't say I know. So I think I was just in my head and my thoughts showed on my face and I had chronic resting bitch face. I don't know if that's ever really fully gone away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
CRBF.
So even if I have resting bitch face in the grocery store, I still don't have a vibe that a man wants to even penetrate through. Probably shouldn't have said penetrate right now.
No, you absolutely should have. I think it's because your resting bitch face, there's a tinge of like disgust, like annoyance. Whereas mine is like, I'm downtrodden. Dude, there's a nuance. Resting bitch face has there's nuance in it.
Wait, did you just say mine has disgust?
There's like a hint of almost like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right? Where mine is like I'm pissed.
Yeah. So no one's gonna comment on my mood
like, oh, it could be worse.
Yeah, people are just like, shut up, stay far away from
I'm dealing with today. I'm gonna
Yeah.
find a ripe avocado.
But sometimes that's hard.
It is hard.
So yeah.
Literally they're hard. The avocados are hard.
They are
It's
hard.
annoying.
So yeah, I think energy vampires are real.
The life out of you. And they could be anywhere. I mean, the dude I ran into at Starbucks, he talked for 12 minutes.
You had your child
I had my child with me. I couldn't get a word in. It was really odd. I got in the car and I was like tearing up, called my husband, like so upset. And then I was talking to my sister about it. And I was like, I can't, it really rattled me. Like I felt trapped. And this goes into a whole other thing of like people pleasing. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I like that. And I should have been more assertive, but whatever. But I was telling my sister, And I was like, I can't think of the word, but it made me feel, and she goes, violated. And I was like, that's it. I felt so violated. But these could be people at school pickup. These could be people at Starbucks. These could be a close friend sometimes, where for whatever reason we continue the friendship even though they suck the life out of us. That's a whole thing to re-examine, right? If that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be anybody, like an emotion. Sorry, the terms are used interchangeably. I've heard energy vampire and I've heard emotion vampire. I like energy vampire because it sucks the energy out of you.
Yeah.
But God, they're annoying.
It's just
they're
hard.
exhausting.
It's hard because typically an energy vampire, when you're trying to retreat in a kind way, they're completely
they don't pick up on it.
To it.
They don't pick up on it. And then this is where I feel like the relatability piece, obviously energy vampire, everybody can relate to that on some level, but especially as a mom of 2 young kids, when you have in your mind, it's like all those tabs that are open, right? That we all have open and we try to close a couple and then more pop up. There is no time. There's no time or like a pie chart of where my emotional energy is going to go. I don't have any space for an energy vampire. Right. So then I guess some people listening are probably like, dude, like shut it down, walk away. But it's not always that easy because I feel like it's a people pleasing thing.
Okay, but you've taught me this. People pleasing isn't for you've taught me so much. But people pleasing isn't for them. It's actually for you. So go into detail about that. Let's really analyze
it. People pleasing, right? There's this misconception that if you're a people pleaser, you have this like altruistic desire to please people.
I'm just sorry. I saw myself in the camera and my mug.
And the size of your, it's so aggressive. It's so aggressive. It's bigger than my face. If you it's literally bigger than your head.
It makes me so happy.
It makes me happy too. You need to have this at every
bucket.
Bucket.
It used to say, "Mama, need some coffee." It's from Target.
You don't need any more coffee.
No, it just says, "Need some coffee." Kara, you always need it.
I know.
But looking at the size compared to
my little dinky Starbucks.
You're always gonna have a Starbucks. That's your security blanket.
This is my security. I know, and everyone knows it too. Everybody knows it. They're always like, "Where's your Starbucks? Look, you have a Starbucks." Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
So people pleasing. There's this idea that like, oh, we just genuinely want to like accommodate this person. We genuinely want to help this person. No. When I say yes to something that really I'm taking on too much, there's bending for people and then there's bending over backwards. You don't want to bend over backwards. You can bend, you can be flexible and accommodate here and there, but when you're bending over backwards, that's not good because you're jeopardizing something on your end. It's going to come at a cost, right? So for example, if you ask me to take you to the airport at 5, I love this analogy. I use it with clients too. And I think about you.
I've never asked you to do this.
I know, that's what's so funny about it. And I don't think you would, but I always think like, Jessie asks,
why
like,
me?
Maybe I don't just think
because you know I don't like to Uber.
I do know you don't like to Uber. And I feel like for some reason you would have a need to like go somewhere.
I wish I had a need to go somewhere. I wish I was going to LAX.
No, but like Friday at 5 p.m. Like I feel like you'd be the one of all of our friends that's like, I have to go to LAX at 5 o'clock on Friday. Anyway.
That's really funny because the idea of LAX on a Friday
is terrible. Like you'd be super stressed.
It's enough for me to be like, forget it. I'm not, the older I get, the big crowds. Maybe because the big crowds suck my energy. They're very overwhelming and overstimulating for me.
There's so many reasons
that
why I feel like it would happen to you where you like need to be at the airport and you like need someone to take you. Anyway, if you were to ask me that, if I say yes to you,
yeah,
and really I don't want to do it, which for you I would totally do it. I wouldn't, right? Like
to be clear, I would not ask
you. Wouldn't ask it, but if you did, I would do it. But anyway, let's say somebody asks you to do that and you don't want to do it. When I say yes to you, it's not really about me wanting to like serve. Maybe there's a teeny part of that in there, but really by saying yes to you, I'm trying to avoid the negative feelings I would experience by saying no to you, which would be like anxiety, guilt, right? So people pleasing, yes, it's a little bit about us, but really it's not. I mean, sorry, reverse. I just hit myself in the face with my daggers. It's less about helping others and it's more about us not feeling shitty feelings.
Like anxiety
Of like,
mad at
she's
me.
gonna be
Should I have
mad at
done
me.
it?
Maybe because it just goes deep where like, that's why I think of you is like, because we're so close. Like I wouldn't.
God, this gets better and better.
I know, I feel like we're having a therapy session together.
But you're like putting imaginary shit on me.
I'm projecting, I'm sorry. Or maybe there was a time where like you asked me to do something and I couldn't do it and felt bad. I don't know. And you know what I mean.
If you asked me to take you to LAX at 5,
what would you say? Like
as
for
long
real,
as
what would
we
you
can
say?
like get dinner first and like kind of make it fun.
Like go on the earlier side.
Yeah, like let's at least do something.
Make it like a event. Yeah, make it fun.
Make it fun.
Okay, that's fair. Good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But like
so that's
I know it's been made extremely clear.
Don't ever ask me
if I ever need to go to LAX at 5, you are not who I'm calling.
I would take you. But I think it's that fear of disappointing someone or like in our minds, letting them down. We don't want to feel the feelings that come along with that. So we bend over backwards to accommodate the person so that we don't have to feel that. Yeah. I hope I'm making this really clear.
So I have an example of this that I'm like, well, I'll share. When I started to build a team at work, I was so, okay, let's back up for a second. I always like to be a part of the group. I always like to be socially connected. I want to relate. I want to feel a part of something. Being a business owner has really like a gut punch in the sense of like, I am not a part of the group. There is like, I feel like if I walk into the room, people stop talking. If I say something, there's like an obligatory like laugh.
Oh my gosh.
So it feels like a
nuance of being like,
yeah, it feels like a separation. And that's been really interesting. I don't know. I could put a lot of words to it over the years of like, I'm a part of the team in the sense of like, we all have a greater like common goal, but I'm also separated because
by nature of the kind of the hierarchy, not hierarchy, but structure or setup.
Like sometimes I'll get my feelings really hurt. And if I've talked to my mom about it in the past and she'll say, when have you ever stopped to be like, I wonder how my boss is feeling about that. And I was like,
gosh, that's so true.
But sometimes it feels dehumanizing.
Of course.
Because my goal in life wasn't to be a boss. It just, my path evolved that way. Yeah. My happy place in life is to feel connected to people, right? So anyways, when I was starting to kind of figure this out, whatever a request would be, I would say yes, because I wanted everybody happy. And then you say like, what did you say? It has to be for like the greater good, or you said you can't be putting yourself out.
Bending versus bending over backwards.
Yeah. So I wasn't personally bending over backwards, but I would say yes. And then we'd find out like this really hurts the business saying yes to this. So then I'd have to retract it. And I will never forget, years ago, I had someone on my team come to me and it hurt in the moment, but I'm so glad she said it. She goes, it's just better if you say no first instead of always saying yes and then taking it back. And I was like, I really need to put on my big girl panties and say what's correct. And that's hard because then you feel like you're disappointing people.
They're not gonna, and
they don't
like me.
They don't like me. Yeah. And then if they leave me, for me, they're not leaving the business, they're leaving me because the business is my third baby.
Abandoned, I'm going to be alone.
Right. So if you people please, going back to what you're talking about, it's for me to avoid the fear of upsetting somebody.
All those things.
I even do it with my kids sometimes. Like, I'm going to say yes because your tantrum is not on the agenda today.
Well, and that's a whole, right. Totally get that.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. And this is the interest. Well, there's another layer to people pleasing that's interesting. Saying no, like setting a boundary, which sometimes involves saying yes, but for the sake of our conversation, saying no, it actually protects, like setting boundaries protects relationships because again, when we people please, we open it up for, there's a potential for resentment. So if I'm people pleasing you and you don't reciprocate it in a way that is meaningful to me, resentment. Right. So there's a huge benefit to setting boundaries, right? Which we'll do a whole other,
I was just gonna say,
we're gonna like circle back to boundaries almost.
Boundaries are such a big deal. And we've talked about like the healing process. One of my first steps in kind of reclaiming who I want to be was, where are those boundaries going to be put? Because when you let someone penetrate, it's my word,
love it,
penetrate through your boundaries, you cannot. It's like you keep having holes, right? And then the water you can't keep it contained if you keep letting yourself get holy.
Holy.
Oh my God. There's no way.
You can't.
It's in the moment. Okay, wait. So Kara, I have a question then.
Yeah.
Going back to energy vampires.
Oh yeah, let's circle back.
How do we prevent them?
It's boundaries. This is
okay,
exactly what we're talking about.
What are going to be our visual boundaries besides my
RBF?
That's
I don't
saying
think
I'm
the
not
CRBF is going to cut it. I think, and again, you brought up this point not too long ago that energy vampires, you got to realize in general, you know, if someone's acting a certain way with you, odds are they're doing it with other people. So
it's not personal.
It's not personal. And these people are not just encountering people pleasers, they're encountering assertive people, healthily assertive people who are like, stop, or you know what, I gotta go, or
but it doesn't deter them.
No,
because they keep doing it.
Which think about then like their think about their day-to-day experience. They're probably just constantly having boundaries put up.
Okay, wait, do you know the person I'm talking about? We definitely won't say names.
Right.
But this person, there's a location in our life where we keep running into each other, and we know each other from the past. So apparently I'm free game. When I tell you this person has come up to me at 4 or 5 different opportunities now when he has seen me and told me the same 20-minute story, does not take a breath. And this last time I was in a conversation with somebody else when he approached me and started talking, and I watched this other person just slowly walk away.
Drift away.
And he didn't even notice. It was so much of me just nodding and not talking.
I'm like literally feeling triggered right now.
I like feel the anxiety in my stomach.
I'm getting hot. Not in a good way. Like not in a good way.
You know the person too.
In a very ungood way.
And it is so
it's exhausting.
This is the first time I have ever pretended to be on my phone when I know they're near.
But the thing about it, that I love that, and I do it too. But at the same time, the thing that doesn't sit right with me about that is that it's almost passive aggressive, right? And so on, there's this continuum where there's
protection.
It is protection, but I want to get to a point where I don't have to like
avoid.
I don't have to avoid.
I'm saying like put on those sunglasses, put in that AirPod, even though you're not listening to anything. I've even been in my car and picked up my phone because I'm so worried about them stopping and being like, roll down your window.
Oh my gosh.
It's really intense. It's aggressive.
So aggressive and so intrusive. It's intrusive.
And when they see me, I'm not even like necessarily not doing like I'm on my way.
You're like doing something.
To like, yes, but what are you gonna do? Like some people, but this was my point. If a person can't read the cues, whether you're being polite or aggressive,
right?
If you just end it, like they're probably not internalizing it.
Totally. So it's not like we're actually even hurting their feelings. We're so worried about hurting people's feelings. Their feelings aren't hurt.
Our feelings
on to the next person.
Our feelings get hurt easily. We're sensitive people.
Right. Oh, and yeah, another word on boundaries, just for, for the sake of talking about boundaries. A good way to identify boundaries, you have to first you have to create and build out your value system, because you're not going to know what your boundaries are if you don't have a good value system in place. What do I tolerate? What do I stand for? How do I want to be treated? All those things. That's all part of our value system, right?
Well, this is getting into a much bigger conversation, because at the start of figuring out who am I wanting to involve into, it's like, what are the core things in this life that I align to. Like,
exactly.
what are
your values?
Those are your values. What at the core of it, like put 100 things on a piece of paper, and if you pick 4 or 5, what do you whittle that down to? And then you create your life to align to that. And I think that is just so important, whether it's a personal journey, a career journey,
every domain. You look at every domain.
What
in
are
the
those
work realm,
what
do I value? In friendships, what do I value? In my spiritual or religious domain, what do I value? You know, so on and so forth.
But you might have different values in every domain.
Yeah.
But at the pinnacle of it all, I just feel like my vocab in these episodes are
very sexual.
Pinnacle?
Oh, I was thinking climax. Yeah. Same thing.
Well, at the top of the iceberg.
Oh, okay. That's not sexual.
What are those for? Right? Because like, what is
like in what domain? You mean like interpersal or like?
No, like there has to be like a main 4 that are the big umbrella over everything.
Have you developed?
4 years ago I did this, so it's probably evolved. I haven't like done it.
They can change over time.
Yeah, I haven't done it currently, but there were like 4, and then even though every part of my life might differ a little, at the end of the day, I want it all to lead to these 4 values. And then from there, I mean, it's just an onion. And like one layer is like peeling back, like boundaries. I mean, I could keep going.
Yeah.
Surrendering and having faith, what drives you, whatever. We could just keep going. But at the crux of it all, it's really hard, I think, to develop these other areas without those boundaries established.
It's almost impossible. Yeah. And you know, people might think like, well, I've got boundaries and I don't really know what my value system is. Yes, you do. If you have boundaries in place, you know what your values are. You know, you value in a relationship that you're not going to be spoken to that way, right? Or that you're not going to bend over backwards for someone, right? You're going to protect your peace. You might not know it consciously, but it's there.
Some people more innately establish boundaries.
Yes. And yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
boundaries are your friend.
I'm very happy for those people.
Me too. Good for them.
Do you think if you innately establish boundaries, you're just naturally confident?
Oh, that's a big question, Jessie.
Do you think not confident people lack boundaries? Because I do. So if you have them.
Yeah, that way I can understand it a bit easier that way in the reverse.
Just something to ponder.
It's definitely something to ponder. I'm going to ponder that for the rest of the day.
Get back to me.
And then I'll get back to you.
But yeah, so I mean, what's the takeaway from all of this?
Takeaway is energy vampires will suck the life out of you. If you're a people pleaser, they're especially difficult to navigate. But
warn your friends if you identify one in the community, just be like,
and dox them at the same time. Put their photo up on Instagram. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But let people know, like, wear your sunglasses. Have your phone available.
Get your hood on. I always wore a hood, sunglasses, and I looked out.
Okay, the fact that someone would try to speak to you in that environment.
I'm telling you, I have a freaking like neon sign that I say this all the time to people. Like, I must have a sign that's like, approach me with shit I don't care about. And I'm sorry, I'm a therapist. Like, my whole purpose in life is to literally alleviate or reduce suffering in humans.
When you are on.
When I'm on. But that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about people who, in a sense, like, it's damaging what they're doing. And they're a threat.
You don't know when the end is.
You don't know when the end. No. That's probably, I think you just like literally put words to like the most traumatic aspect of the Starbucks incident was I didn't know when it's like an earthquake. You don't know when it's going to end.
And it feels shitty while it's happening.
Right.
All right. I think we got it.
We got it.
If anybody has advice on
drop us a little comment. Yeah. Let us know how you deal with energy vampires. What's your go-to strategy?
Because we need to know.
We all need them.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, here's the deal. If you like what you hear,
and we know you do,
be sure to like, subscribe,
and write us a review.
That rhymes.